The Racing Postcast in association with Paddy Power. They pay more extra places than any other bookie.
The plot thickens. This 2016 Investec Derby is getting more complicated but more fascinating by the day, and it forms the centrepiece of this Racing Post review postcast, in which I, Bruce Millington, him, Tom Siegel, him, Nick Watts, and him over in Ireland, Rob Catterson from Paddy Power, will be getting stuck into all the burning issues as well as the Derby and the Oaks. We are looking ahead to Royal Ascot after all sorts of clues were dropped at the weekend, and also at York the previous week. We'll have a little look ahead to the Irish Guineas, and we'll have a little chat about various other bits and pieces that are on our mind. We've also got the Temple Stakes this weekend. But without further ado, we'll look at the Derby, because the Gurkha's storming run at Deauville to win the 2,000 Guineas for Ryan Moore and Aidan O'Brien has cast yet another dimension on this race, which we're all saying was going to be boring and rubbish and substandard. It may well end up being substandard, but it's certainly not boring. It's a fascinating event. It's going to be a huge field. And Rob Catterson to set the scene. What is the latest betting? And I don't want any fillies quoted, OK?
OK, deal. Well, the good news is we are non-runner no bet on the Derby and the Oaks, so that takes a little bit of pressure off if anyone's having to bet. We can't split US Army Ranger, Wings of Desire or the Gurkha. They're all co-favourites at 4-1. We're 8-1 Cloth of Stars. It's 10s Moonlight, Magic Deauville, 12s Port Douglas, 14s and bigger the remainder. I suppose the big question is how many are Ballydole going to run? By the sounds of it, they're probably going to throw all of these horses who've been winning trials and going close, and hopefully they'll end up with the Derby winner.
Well, I think they are going to throw a few darts, aren't they? Start with you, Nick Watts. What do you make of it all?
Yeah, it's very muddling, isn't it? I mean, the Gurkha, like you said, he comes into the reckoning on that win yesterday, but before that, he'd kind of been seen as a potential Derby candidate. Otherwise, he would have run in one of the trials. It looked like they were going down another route, and that's why they went for the French Guineas. Like he was going to be, a miler for the rest of the season. Is
he bred for it? I'm hopeless with bloodstock. What are the genes saying?
Well, it's mixed. He's by Galileo, and Galileo can get horses to stay most trips, but on the dam side, there isn't much stamina. I think the dam's a 7 furlong horse for David Watchman Chintz, it was called, Group 3 winner. Bred a couple of 7 furlong horses, so it's very inconclusive, but in a year, like we said before, that's so open, I think anybody with a Derby horse on their hands or just got an entry in the race, they've got to go for it, because it's, nothing's really put their hand up, I don't think, out of the trials to say, yeah, I'm going to win it.
Who is going to win it?
I was impressed with Wings of Desire last week. I'll just take on board what John Gosden said. He's come an awful long way in a very short space of time. And it's only a little while ago he's winning at Wolverhampton, so would he be ready for a Derby? I suppose the one for me with least question marks about him would be Moonlight Magic, who is bred to get a Derby trip. Won a recognised trial in the Derrinstown, beat a couple of good Ballydole horses, including Idaho. Maybe got a bit less to prove than some of the others in there.
OK, so it's, that's Nick Watts' verdict. Tom Siegel, first of all, before you start talking about the individual horses, this is actually boiling up into a really interesting race, isn't it? I don't think we're necessarily going to get a Nijinsky, but of course you don't know because it's early days, but it's certainly fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah, I love it, Bruce. I mean, often we come to this stage of the season, we got a derby that we sort of know what's going to happen, an authorised or a motivator or a year like that. This year, it's wide open. It's trying to pick a runner's quite hard, and so I love it. I love all the intrigue. I love all the gossip about it. It's great. Makes it a better race for me.
Can we basically tackle this race confident in the knowledge that Somi, Dar and Minding won't run in it?
I think Minding's got no shot of running in it now. I think if Aidan's horses had all bombed out in the trials, there was a chance. But while they haven't been carrying before them, he did win the Chester Vase. Obviously, the Gurkha won yesterday. I can't see. I don't think there's any chance Minding will run.
I suppose the other one might avoid Minding.
Somi Dar. Well, I don't know. I think it will depend whether the old Lloyd Webber's got a show on in Las Vegas or whatever he's doing. But I can't see it. I think she'll run in the Oaks too. I think they were pretty confident about that straight after the race, that there was not going to be any Derby run with her. And I don't know. I think keep the fillies in the Oaks for the time being. I mean, it's still a classic after all. But I think we've got to go back to the Gurkha performance. I know Nick said there that it was sort of a dodgy preparation for him, but I'm not convinced. I don't know. I think he might end up running. I mean, I think a lot will depend on the Irish Guineas on Saturday. If US Army what's the horse called?
Air Force Blue.
Air Force Blue comes out and blows the field away there and wins there, then I think the Gurkha will probably run in the Derby, because I think they'll think he's their miler for the season. I think if he blows out again, I think we might see the Gurkha stay at a mile, because they won't have one. You know, they haven't got a horse that they can run at the St James's Palace and races like that, and they like running and the Sussex Stakes and races like that. So I think that's what they'll do with the Gurkha. So I think it depends on what happens on Saturday, whether he runs in the Derby. Obviously, they've got the Army Ranger in there at the top of the market anyway. So I think they still probably hold the key, the Ballydoyle boys. But for me, it's turning into a fantastic race.
Who are you on at the moment? Who's your latest thoughts?
I don't know. I mean, I was quite impressed with Deauville, the other Aidan O'Brien horse in the Ante the other day. I think Ryan went for home a long way out. It was his first run of the season. I think he's going to improve a lot for that. Could be just sort of the horse that is underestimated. He's had lots of horses go there as sort of second and third strings and run big races. I thought maybe Deauville might beat Wings of Desire next time, and I thought maybe around 12, 14 to 1, something like that. I thought he might be the each way bet at the moment.
How many horses can run in this? Is it 20?
I think it's 20 or is it 18, Nick? I can't remember, but it's one or the other. But I think we'll have a full field.
They're going to be full, aren't they?
Yeah.
I said yesterday they should divide it. 2 divisions of the Derby, that'd be good, wouldn't it?
Constellation Derby.
Yeah, why not?
Well, the classic one a few years ago was Earhart, wasn't it? Who weaved his way through from an impossible position. I think about 18 round then. There was all sorts of trouble in running. Could be a similar race this year.
Rob Catson, who's the worst result in the Paddy Power book at the moment?
Well, we were chatting at the start of the season. We'd already mentioned support for US Army Ranger, and then obviously people latched on to him even before he won at the Curragh. Even though he's been easy enough to back since he won in Chester, he's possibly still the worst result in the book, because since then nobody really knows what to back, nobody really knows what's running, and then horses have come out and won trials and the price has gone. So of the ones that are up towards the top of the market, people have got the big prices about US Army Ranger, and I don't know, there's still a possibility he could go off shorter than the fours, especially if Ryan Moore is going to ride.
Now then, what about your personal fancies, Rob? Where do you think the winner will come from at this stage?
I think the horse to take out of the trials is possibly Port Douglas, given US Army Ranger.
Well said.
It was his first run of the season. The key to him last season was fast ground, and he's definitely going to get that around Epsom. And listen, it'll be a completely different scenario when the Derby comes. It'll be every man for himself. We remember High Chaparral beating Hawkwing back in the day. You know, if Ballydoyle are 5 or 6 runners, they're not going to care what wins. But I still think US Army Ranger has more to give, and of the top 3 in the betting, he'd be the one. But at a price of 12s, Port Douglas is the value in my opinion.
I agree with you wholeheartedly.
Good luck with that project, you boys.
Why?
I don't fancy that at all.
Why not?
I just don't think he's good enough, Bruce.
Well, I mean, do you think US Army Ranger's good enough?
No, but I don't think either of them have a shot.
And that's fine. But I mean, I'd rather be backing him at 12s than midterm or foundation at 10s. Where are you getting those prices from?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Foundation's not going to run, is it? Unfortunately, but I think it should. But midterm's got no. That's ridiculous.
No. And I'm going to throw one more into the mix. Ulysses. Now, this little race at Leicester that they ran on the final day of the jump season was won by Imperial Aviator, who absolutely dotted up on Saturday. Ulysses was second. UAE Prince, who was the horse before the race that everyone was talking about, was good. Nick, Ulysses at Newbury, I mean, may not have beaten a great deal, but absolutely overpowered them, didn't he?
Yeah, he did look very impressive, and you know, it's like we've already been saying. I think if you've got like a vague notion you've got a Derby horse on your hands this year, you've got to give it a go, because it's just that kind of race.
But wouldn't be for you in terms of considering the winner, Nick, no?
No, I'll stick with Moonlight Magic, but again, without any great confidence, I don't think. All
right, fair enough. Anyone else got a shout for any of these other horses? Tom, anyone we haven't mentioned?
I thought Deauville is a shot. I would run Foundation if he was mine for sure. I think the trip will suit him, and I think he'd be a big price at 25 to 1 if he ran, or whatever price he is. But as I say, I always think the Dante's probably the best trial, and I still think it probably was. And I think for his first run of the season, let's not forget that Wings of Desire and Foundation and all those ones around him had a run. And I think Deauville is going to improve quite a lot, and I think he's definitely going to stay. And I think he'll like the ground. I think he's got the run style. So for me, he'd be the one.
Okay, and me and Rob, we're going to stick with Port Douglas, the winner. So that's good. Let's have a look at the Oaks then. Assuming they both run, Nick Watts, So Me, Dar and Mining could be involved in a really, really high quality affair here, couldn't they? Obviously, the betting has Mining well clear, but how much do you think there is between the two of them?
I think it'd be much closer than that suggests. I was really impressed with Somi Dar last week. I thought she looked very good. She put daylight between herself and her rivals, which is, all you can do. And, Epsom form, not many horses come into it with Epsom form, but she does, and that's crucial. And year after year, I always wonder why trainers don't take advantage of this classic trial that's run at Epsom, because it's such a unique track, so odd in many respects, that if you prove you can go on it, it's got to be worth something. And Somi Dar goes there. She's won there before.
Could give us the Derby and around the Oaks winning this year, of course, couldn't it? Humphrey and Viren's Army in behind her.
Could well do, but I just think that knowledge that, you're backing a horse that's proven around the track it could be crucial, and it's something that she's got in her locker that all the other horses haven't, and that could be a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Rob, how are you betting on the Irish Oaks? Oh, not the Irish Oaks, the Investec Oaks.
Yeah, well, obviously we're betting as if it's declaration time with the non-winner no bets. So it's 5-6 Minding, 5-2 Somi Dar. Ballydoyle, who we reckon will run on Sunday, is 5-1, and it's 14 Spar. But it's a 2-horse book at the moment, and Minding is going to go off around the even money mark, we reckon.
And who do you like, Rob?
Yeah, it's very hard to get away from Minding. She was brilliant at Newmarket. She blew them away, and there's every suggestion that the mile and a half isn't probably going to be a problem. So even though it's unoriginal, I think she'll take plenty of beating.
What about you, Tom?
Somi Dar, Bruce.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, last year we all saw Legatissimo was the best filly. She got beaten by a horse that stayed better.
It still hurts.
When I was growing up, I had pictures of Shadaid on them. Well, most people had football teams or pretty girls on the wall. I had Shadaid
Toya
on
Wilcox. I'm just trying to think who your era would be.
I'm trying to... Kim Wilde.
Susie Quattro.
Kim Wilde, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
But I had Shadaid on my wall, and she went she won the 1,000 guineas easily, and then we went to the Oaks and got piled in by a stayer. Look, she was so good at in the 1,000 guineas. If she wins the Oaks and stays the Oaks trip, she's going to be one of the best fillies I've ever seen. Minding, I don't think... there's got to be a doubt about her staying for me. She showed so much pace in the Guineas. Somi Dar's done it. She's there. I think she's going to improve again. I think she might outstay her.
OK, that was Epsom. Let's look ahead to Royal Ascot.
Here's Paddy Power's latest horse racing offer. It's money back as a free bet if your horse finishes second to the SP Fav at one meeting every day this month. Paddy Power, you're welcome. Max free bet £25, 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly.
Rob Catson, please give us Paddy Power's latest betting on the Commonwealth Cup, because I think that's our next port of call.
Yeah, it certainly is. Right, as it stands, we have the Queen Mary winner of last year, Acapulco. I think she won at the weekend. She's the 3-1 market leader. 5-1 Gifted Master. It's 8-1 Washington's EC, winner at the weekend, as was Logout Island. He's 10s with Lumiere and 12s Bar.
It's only the second running, Nick, but already it's one of the races that you look forward to most, isn't it? Maraha really did sort of herald the race in fantastic style. Logout Island, what do you make of that?
I think they just let it go, to be honest. I actually backed a horse in the race called Remarkable, who finished second. Rab Haviland was on that, but they seemed in no hurry to take Logout Island on. I think probably the assumption was that she seemed to kind of plateau, or he seemed to kind of plateau last season. Didn't really go on. And so, the other jocks probably thought, oh, we'll give this a bit of rope and it'll probably, based on what he did last year, would come back to the field. But he didn't. First time, Hurd really worked the Oracle. Never came back to them, never looked like coming back to them. I'd still treat it, I think, as a one-off. But, he may prove me wrong, but that's the way I would be looking at it, definitely.
It's funny, the kind of Twitterati, if you like, after the race. With a race like that, I thought, right, what are they going to do? Are they going to absolutely slaughter the other jockeys for giving this one a massive lead, or are they going to come out and say they were blown away by Logout Island and they took the latter route? Were they right to do so, Tom?
It's a tricky one. I mean, I
need some sectional analysis here, aren't they? I'm not sure that sectional timing is necessarily the thing to get British racing overtaking football as the number one sport. But in this instance, I think it is probably important to be able to gauge whether the other jockeys were caught napping or whether it just was a phenomenal performance of early pace.
Having spoken to some sectionalistas, let's call it, they're of the opinion that it wasn't a fluke at all, that he did show exceptional pace to begin with. Having said that, it won't happen again, I don't think. I mean, it was the first time Hood. I think every other jockey now will be sort of wise to it. I mean, I don't think Logout Island's ever going to be a de jour. He's going to have Acapulco to take him on. He's going to have Gifted Master up there. I don't think we're going to see the same performance. And also, let's not forget that Ascot is a terribly difficult track to blast horses away on. It's uphill the whole way from there. Horses get going too soon. I can't see it myself. Like Nick, if Remarkable was to race against him at Ascot, I would be all over Remarkable to beat him next time. I thought he put up perhaps the performance of the weekend in defeat. I thought he gave Logout Island probably 15, 20 lengths and was only beaten in two in the end. I think he's a really good horse going forward, Remarkable. He's a bit of a nutter. They can't get him on the gallops that easily, and so therefore that's why he sort of wears a hood and they ride him like they do. But I think Ascot will suit him, and provided it's not lightning fast ground, I think they might go for the Jersey, which is a bit of a shame. But if he went for the Commonwealth Cup, he'd be my one.
It's a real shame that people weren't using the scalded cat analogy for Logout Island. People always used to say came out like a scalded cat, but they don't say that anymore.
Can we use it? Can I use that?
Well, it was like a scalded cat, wasn't it? Rob Catson, have you got a Commonwealth Cup fancy at this stage?
I suppose on the prices, possibly Lumiere. We all know what Mark Johnson was saying about her heading into the Guineas, and obviously she didn't fire, but at a double-figure price of 10-1 back to 6 furlongs, I think she could be given another chance. But Acapulco's going to set the standard, and it's great that she's coming back after what she did last season.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. I think Buratino. Can I give a mention out to my old friend Buratino, Bruce here? Definitely didn't stay in the Guineas. Beat Air Force Blue in the Coventry last year. He's got the perfect run style. As long as it's fast ground, I think he's the people at Mark Johnson thinks he's just as good as last year. So maybe at 16-1, he might run well.
Where will Air Force Blue run, Nick, if he does bomb out again in the Irish 1000? I presume they go back down the sprinting route. Will we just next see him in the July Cup? Is that basically how it works?
It's possible, but God, if he blew out again at the weekend and 2 blowouts in a row, I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see him until the autumn
or again.
Ever.
Well, why can't they just say, look, he's a sprinter?
Well, they can try. They can certainly try, Bruce. I mean, I think they might pack him off to start and see what happens.
What a shame, eh? Because he was we expect him to be the poster boy for the
flats.
He
might be. There's only one run, isn't it? We'll see what happens on Saturday, and hopefully he'll bounce back.
Now then, if you listen to the Postcast on Friday, then our old mucker Paul Keeley was in fantastic form again. Not only did he tip what's it called, Imperial Aviator, who absolutely hosed up. It was very, very sweet on Bilardo, and Bilardo was terrific in the big race of the weekend, the Lockinge. Nick, what was your big takeouts from the Lockinge?
Well, I like the winner. I thought he won very nicely. It didn't surprise me. I'm not saying that, now. I fancied him beforehand because I just thought that Sandown race that he ran in before probably should have won that, but James Doyle didn't get it quite right that day and gave him an awful lot to do. But
does Saturday's performance suggest that he's not as ground dependent as we thought, or was there a fair bit of cut there?
I think it was just about all right for him. I think if you got a really hot Royal Ascot week and it was good to firm, he might struggle a little bit with that because we know how good he is with a bit of dig in the ground. We saw that last autumn when he ran solo close in the QE2. But he's just coming back to the kind of form that he was shown as a 2-year-old when he won the Dewhurst. He might not be an absolutely tip-top miler, but, he was good enough on Saturday. And any time there's any dig in the ground at all, he's going to be very, very effective.
Absolutely. What's the Queen Anne latest, then, with regards to Bilardo, Rob Catterson?
He's 5-1 second favourite behind Tepin, who's of course been pretty busy across the water already this year, and it looks as though it's going to be another American runner. But Bilardo's 5-1 second favourite. Ervadia and Lamata were 8s with time test, and 10-1 Lendless Drama, who ran very well for his first run after a while on the sidelines.
Tom, would you write Lamato off as a miler now?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I think he's definitely worth another trial on fast ground at a mile. I thought he travelled like the best horse. I think it was a set of circumstances that allowed Bilardo to win myself. I don't think he's as good as he looked on Saturday, personally. I think while Ascot will suit him, I think fast ground wouldn't, and I'd back Lamato to beat him next time at Ascot for sure.
By the way, did anyone else start swearing at their TVs on Saturday when the director closed up on the front 2 late on in that race? Why do they do it? There were so many horses in contention, and then all of a sudden, 2 furlongs out, we get a shot of the leader's nostrils and pretty much nothing else. Drives me bloody mad, that.
I think Endless Drama's worth mentioning, Bruce. I think he's massive. I happened to be at Newbury on Saturday.
Everyone tells me he's an absolutely beautiful horse.
He's 20 pounds heavier than Denman. Put it like that. He is massive. And for him to run so well first time, I don't think he's a miler, to be honest. I think he needs a mile and a quarter, perhaps even a mile and a half. I think he'll be a monster one day.
OK, fair enough. And what do we know about Tepin, Tom?
Not much, to be honest. He or is it she? I'm not sure, but it was really good in the Breeders' Cup.
That's not a good start, is it?
It was really good in the Breeders' Cup. American racing is not my cup of tea. I have to admit that. But whatever it was, Tepin was good that day. And if she's as good as she looked that day, then she's got to be right in the mix.
Okay. And what about Coronation Stakes betting? Because a few clues there from the weekend, weren't there, Rob?
Yep, there certainly were. As it stands in the Coronation, we have Ballydoyle, the 7-4 market leader, as we said. It looks as though she's going to the Cur on Sunday. 7-2, Nemoralia. 6-1 about the French Guineas winner, Le Cressinier. She's still unbeaten. She's now 6s, and it's 7s bar. But more clues this weekend. But of course, we had those two clues last week as well.
Well, yeah, the two big clues at the weekend were Nemoralia and Le Cressonier. Blimey, the pronunciation got a test there. I've got to say, out of the two, I'd rather back Rouget's filly there. What about you, Nick?
I really like Nemoralia. I like the other one. I liked her as a 2-year-old, and I think she's just come out of left field a little bit because she didn't contest any of the top 2-year-old races domestically at the end of last season. She went over to America, and then she didn't appear in a Guineas this spring. So, and that's where you traditionally look, I suppose, for the winner of a Coronation Stakes. But you know, Jeremy Noceda thinks an awful lot of her, and I can understand why. The way she won the other day was very impressive. I think she needs the ground as fast as possible. That's the proviso with her. If it's a real dry, hot week at Ascot, that'll aid her chances no end. And yeah, I think she could be really good.
Fair enough. I just looked at La Cressonier and I just thought that was a killer turn of foot. That I thought really impressive.
I don't think she's going to run, Bruce.
No?
I think Jean-Claude Rouget tends to run that his fillies there, and then they go to the Prix de Diane, they go to the French Oaks.
Right.
In contrast, his horse that came third, I think is interesting for the race, Kamar. Yeah, she pulled too hard. I think round a bend, she's much better round a bend. I know Jean-Claude thought that she was better than La Cressonier and that she would win yesterday. I think round a bend, she'd be interesting. She's got a killer turn of foot, and round that bend, she might settle a bit better. But like Nick, I was really impressed with Nemoralia. I thought that was a monster performance, and I think she's a really good filly, yeah.
Jean-Claude to you, is it?
It is to
Rob
me, yeah.
Catterson, who's your Coronation Stakes hunch at this stage of the game?
Yeah, I was with you. I thought yesterday's winner would have been the one to beat, but obviously if she doesn't come over, that
doesn't really help, does it?
No. I've no real opinion on it, to be honest with you. Ballydoyle possibly, but it'll depend on what Aidan runs.
Right, let's get some opinions then. Best Royal Ascot bet right now. I'm giving you a free tenner each. Who are you going to bet? We'll start with you, Nick.
Oh, Magical Memory in the Diamond Jubilee. It's such a straightforward horse and really impressed me winning the Duke of York. Really strong traveller, never looks out of his comfort zone at all and really finishes off his races very well. I think it'll take a good one to beat him.
Tom Siegel.
You know me, Bruce. I like the nice, easy one, so I'm going for the Hunt Cup. Convey, that was second at York on Saturday. During the week, I think he has probably a stone in hand from the handicapper. I think he'll love the straight track at Ascot, and he should have won at York the other day.
Righty-ho, what about you, Rob?
Okay, well, we've already mentioned him once or twice. It's Saturday's winner, Imperial Aviator. Funny enough, obviously after Friday's podcast, and we're all talking him up, we record the clips and we played them out into the shops on Saturday, and we were actually enhancing them for 15 minutes.
Oh, you must have got filled in.
Absolutely rolled over, because obviously Paul and yourselves you basically couldn't see him beating that, and Ulysses obviously had won at that stage. So since then, he's been well back for the 10th Centenary Stakes on the Thursday of Royal Ascot at 11-2, and to me, he looks a horse going places.
I tell you, when Keels gets on a roll, he really does make a convincing case. He'd have made a great lawyer, wouldn't he? Don't you think? So convincing. Okay, my best bet, and I'm going to go very obvious here, is Order of St George in the Gold Cup. If that's all Bondi Beach has got, then I don't think Order of St George has got a great deal to beat, albeit some people say he doesn't need a ton of cut. Okay, let's look ahead to the Irish Guineas, which take place this coming weekend.
Here's Paddy Power's latest horse racing offer. It's money back as a free bet if your horse finishes second to the SP Fav at one meeting every day this month. Paddy Power, you're welcome. Max free bet £25, 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly.
Hi there, it's Bruce Millington, Nick Watts, Tom Siegel, and from Paddy Power, Rob Catterson. Looking ahead to this weekend, it's the Irish Guineas. And Rob, what is the latest Irish Guineas quote from Paddy Power on the 2,000 guineas?
Okay, as it stands, the Newmarket Hero Galileo Gold is 7-4 to double up, 5-2 Air Force Blue, 6-1 Outad for Kevin Prendergast, who's been well supported. He was really good at the Cur the last day. 6 is Air Vice Marshal Blue to Vegas, 9s and 10s bar.
Nick?
Well, I couldn't touch Air Force Blue at all on that last performance. I don't see why Galileo Gold shouldn't win again. I know Aidan's taken the headgear off, maybe tweaked a few things at home, but he's going to need to, because that was just dreadful last time.
And it's not like they were making a ton of excuses, was it? What was Aidan saying, that he maybe had him 2 ready or something? I can't remember quite what it was, but it wasn't like you thought, oh, fair enough, I can forgive him. Yeah,
he didn't even run a race, did he? He never looked like winning at any stage. He blew out at kind of halfway, that kind of stage of the race, and, you're just guessing as to his well-being and hoping that he comes back to form rather than on the evidence of his last run. If hard to pick one. I think the solid one, and Rob mentioned a minute ago, who seems to be a kind of real improving horse, is Altad. He's kind of gone through the ranks. He won a handicap 2 starts ago, but then he went to one of the Tetrarch Stakes last time at the track and won it really, really nicely indeed. And yeah, he's coming into the race on a real roll, and it wouldn't surprise me if he could get past the Newmarket 2, Galileo Gold and Air Force Blue.
Be great to see Kevin Prendergast training an Irish Classic winner again. What do you make of it, Thomas?
I like Ortad, but I'm interested what price Rob is on a horse called Blue de Vega for Michael O'Callaghan. I think he was giving Ortad £3 or £4 last time. It was his first run of the season. We saw how Michael O'Callaghan's filly Now or Never improved from her first run to her second last weekend. I think Blue de Vega's a really nice horse. Provided it's not lightning fast, I'd be very interested in him.
What price is that one, Rob?
Yeah, he's 9s.
9s. That do it for you, Tom?
Yeah.
Okay. And what about the Irish 1,000 guineas taking place on Sunday? What's the latest betting? Ballydoyle's a very strong fav, isn't she, Rob?
She is. She's 8 to 11. It's 4 to 1 Now or Never, as the lads have already mentioned. 8 to 1 Turret Rocks and Fireglow, and 14's Bar.
Okay, give us a selection, Nick.
Well, I don't know if she's definitely running, but Kevin Ryan's a Shaddyhan, who I've seen quoted in the betting, won at Lingfield last time out. Second in the Albany last year. I kind of clocked onto her then. I thought it was a really nice performance behind Illuminate. She ran well. She missed the English Guineas at Newmarket, but came to Lingfield and came from a hopeless position to win quite nicely. I think it was the plan post-race to go for this race. So if she turns up a Shaddyhan, Kevin Ryan's horse, I'd be interested in her.
Okay, what about you, Tom?
Ballydoyle, Bruce. I think she'll win by miles.
Really? What do you think of Now or Never? It's so impressive, that. I mean, is there obvious holes to pick in that?
No, not at all.
Phenomenal performance.
Yes.
Kieran just went whoosh around the bend, and
she definitely looked good that day. I just think that Ballydoyle's really, really good. I'm really massively keen on the 1,000 guineas form. I think it's outstanding. I know Alice Springs got piled in yesterday, but I think the two of them at the front there, Nathra obviously we saw come out and run well anyway. So I think the form's really, really good, and I just think she'll come on for that run. And provided the ground's fast, I think she'll be too good.
Rob, do you think you could get filled in on the Favs double, Galileo Gold and Ballydoyle?
Possibly. It all depends on presuming that Air Force Blue is declared and Ryan's on board, and I'd say an awful lot of people will give him a second chance. But in the 1,000 at the prices, to me, it's got to be Now or Never. Like it's been a long time since I've been as impressed with a performance from a filly that she was at Leopardstown. Like he literally pulled her up and she still won. And Michael O'Callaghan is as shrewd as you get. Massive weekend for him, and at 4 to 1, I think she's an each way cert.
Do you know what, chaps? This flat season's actually bubbling up quite nicely now, isn't it? I must admit, once Air Force Blue went down, I was thinking, oh, blimey, where are the stars going to come from? But the fillies division particularly is good. And you know, Tom, this weekend is there's a lot of issues here, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't be more right there, Bruce, with the fillies. I don't think I can remember a time where I've been, you know, the fillies are stronger. I mean, we're looking for a standout colt. I think we've sort of found one yesterday in the Gurkha. We've sort of got Galileo Gold, but you know, a clash between them would be good. But over 1.5 miles, we're not convinced by any of them. But the fillies, you're right. I think this is a really strong year for the fillies, and you know that Irish 1,000 can be a great race.
Absolutely. Also on Saturday at Haydock, we've got the Temple Stakes, and some old friends in the sprint division are doing battle here. Rob Catson, how are Paddy Power betting?
Yeah, plenty of familiar names. Mecca's Angels, a 7 to 2 favourite. 9 to 2 Moothmere. Profitable, who's already won this season, at 7s. Then we've got the 9-year-old Soul Power at 8 to 1 with Wadi and 10's Bar.
That's a decent race, Nick. Who catches your eye?
Well, if there's cutting the ground, I think Mecca's Angel, a justifiable favourite. I think anything good or good to soft or softer than that, I think she's an absolute machine. She'll take a lot of beating. If it comes up quick, my old friend Kotai Glory, who I've mentioned on here before, and I think he needs that kind of ground to prosper, and I think he could do if he gets a road.
I don't think I've been on a podcast with that when you haven't mentioned Kotai Glory, actually.
No,
Nick.
that's David Jennings has Kitten Rock. You've got Kotai Glory. Tom, you're a big Mecca's fan, aren't you?
Yeah, she's fantastic, isn't she? But the forecast isn't looking as there'll be a lot of rain. I'll be quite interested if the 3-year-old Catchy ran, Bruce. I don't know whether the plan is to run here, but I think he's pretty good. He looked good at Goodwood last year, and do get a lot of weight to the 3-year-olds at this time of the year. I mean, we're getting a good 5 or 6, 8 pounds from the colts there, and so I wouldn't throw him out if he runs, but I have we don't know yet. We'll get the final decks in, or the 5-day decks in a minute.
Okay, Rob, would you have a view on this? Soul Power, is his power finally waning, or could he roll back the years, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think as much as you'd love to see him bag another Group 1. I think his days are probably numbered a little bit like Kingsgate native. No strong opinion, but Wadi ran well behind Profitable and Debut. If he improves and he beat Profitable twice last year, he could be the one at the prices.
Lovely stuff. OK, folks, well, thank you for your opinions there. Join us again on Friday when we will look ahead to a fascinating weekend in greater depth.
The Racing Postcast in association with Paddy Power. They stream all UK and Irish racing live on your mobile, tablet or PC.